Morning, morning, morning. Yes, we're back with another episode, another rider. Today we are honoured to have Andrea, sorry.
Yeah, all
and
good.
She's in the film business, short film business, and I'm going to allow her to introduce herself. So nice to have you here today, Andrea.
Thank you so much. Really surprised to be on a podcast this morning.
So tell us, why films? Why the industry you're in?
It's a good question. I think people in film ask themselves that every day. It's really intense work, but at the end of the day, you are satisfied in making something that other people want to watch. Or that's the hope, at least.
Okay. And you said you'd been in the industry 6 years. That 6 years, did you do a degree? Did you go to university?
Yeah, I did. Somewhat related. I went to King's College London, did classics with film studies, so a lot of theory. I was watching a lot of films and analysing them.
So Alfred Hitchcock is probably one of your kind of...
I mean, he was definitely one of them, but we did also watch The Matrix.
Okay.
So, broad spectrum.
What do you think? And did you do any lower education towards that?
Towards getting into the film industry?
Thinking?
No, not really. I think you just kind of have to, as they say in the industry, fake it till you make it. So there's a lot of hustling, networking, meeting people, trying to get your foot in the door whichever way possible. So I did a stint. I worked on a feature film straight out of university, decided the freelance wasn't for me, then went into a sort of marketing role, and then came back into film about 6 years ago, and actually went into documentary.
Mm-hmm.
So not scripted, not narrative.
Just to let everybody know, our lovely lady is not American.
No, I'm half American.
Even her accent's struggling American. But no, when you was at university,
Yeah.
would you say the course really helped you to become who you are today, or is it something you could have improved, that you felt that the course could have been better?
Yeah, good question. I've never been very pro university. I feel like I went to appease my parents. My course has really nothing to do with what I do now, because most of it was classic. So that's Latin, ancient Greek, ancient history, philosophy, maybe to an extent, and literature. You could say were somewhat helpful. And film theory was interesting, but the practical side of filmmaking is very, very different. So if you're not, unless you're looking to become a director or a film critic, I don't think that I wouldn't recommend it, basically. I think that the way that you learn best in my industry is by just doing it. So the way that a lot of people start is by becoming a runner. And that's doing all of the odd jobs, the menial tasks, like getting people coffee, running around grabbing stuff, printing. But slowly you get to learn what everyone does in their department, because there are lots. And the reason why films and film projects work so well is because you have so many different people. And it's like a well-oiled machine. So I think that the best way for anyone to learn in the film industry is starting at the bottom, really.
And that's not necessarily having a degree.
No.
Getting in the door.
You just have to have common sense.
Keeping in mind you did the classics and you do short films now. You might do a Romeo and Juliet classic short film one time?
I
don't know.
Maybe.
Okay.
I feel like that's been covered.
I don't know, but in the short film sense?
Maybe a Gladiator remake.
Yeah, short film, that would be a real fast film.
Yeah, that'll do.
Oh, you don't need to take, no, don't. It would be like that, and then it's over.
Then it's over, because the short film's too short.
So what length is a short film?
Short films can be anything from 30 seconds to usually 15 minutes. So the average is about 12 minutes, I'd say.
30 seconds sounds like a commercial.
Yeah, I mean, you have some film competitions that allow shorts, which could be anything from 30 seconds upward, or less even.
And what is your role as a, you said a producer? What is a producer's role?
I'm a producer. You have various types of producers. I'm what I'd say mostly a line producer, so I make sure that a project gets made from beginning to end. I do everything from scheduling, budgeting, finding the crew, helping with the casting. You just kind of, someone explained it to me before I even got into the industry and said a producer is basically like a mother. So you have to make sure that everyone's happy and everyone's okay and that everything's running smoothly.
So it's a lot of dealing with people's egos.
Oh my goodness, yes.
How do you navigate that emotional
don't know, but I'm a people pleaser, so I just say yes to everyone and then I figure it out later.
Okay, so that's the secret.
That's my secret. I don't know if it's the best. It doesn't tend to. I have a sort of mantra that things work themselves out. Which, when I say works themselves out, I mean I figure out a way of making it work. I think that when you're pushed, when there's a bit of pressure, when there's a bit of stress, you start thinking of resourceful ways to come up with solutions. And yes, there are a lot of egos in the industry, and you get some people that are terrible to work with, and you decide not to work with them after that. But, you know, everything passes, I think. So if you're in a bit of a tight spot and someone's made the wrong decision, I think there's always a solution, and it will pass. So I think it's just the mindset, probably.
I like that.
Called Do As I Say, which will be out who knows when. But I mainly do documentaries, so I work a lot with National Geographic. I'm making a feature documentary in Greenland, which is really intense. Don't know if I want to plug this now, but it's about suicide, because Greenland has one of the highest rates of suicide for various reasons. Everyone thinks it's just because of the light, because they have polar night at the moment, which means it's mostly dark all day. But yeah, lots of different reasons for that. So we went to Greenland earlier this year. Intergenerational trauma is one of them. They went from being hunter fishermen to westernized quite early on. Inuit, I can't say it. The Inuit. So yeah, a lot of the people that we met, their grandparents didn't care for nor understand the concept of sending their children to school because they had very different ways of doing it. So they've kind of been forced into situations, where they have to live in social housing, and of course, a lot of the things you think, okay, well, actually, it's great that you had a hospital around you or that you had a school to send your children to, but if you're imposing your ways on other people who aren't accustomed to that and haven't asked for it, then it causes a lot of stress. Oh, there you go.
Sad. I think.
No, I think that most Nordic countries have high rates of suicide, but in Greenland it's unparalleled, and it's quite sad. When we were there, 2 people committed suicide, and because it's such a small community, you have 58,000 people in the entire country, which is huge, everyone finds out about it. So every time it happens, it's just very close. It's close. It hits close to home because you find out one way or another. So it's almost like you're constantly finding out about these stories. It's very interesting. You have various different takes from all the people there. We've met some really, really cool people. And they're telling their story. We're just showing up with the cameras and letting them tell their story. Yeah. We get to visit some incredible places. So I do complain, but I can't. So for this feature documentary, it'll be about 2 months total. And we've split it up into 2 1 months. So we're out for 4 weeks at a time. And then for short films, like the short film we're making this weekend, it'll be 3 days. For commercial projects, anything from 3 to 7 days, depending on what we need to shoot for a campaign. But it's mostly, you're mostly in pre-production, so that's doing all of the organizing ahead of the film. That's what takes up most time.
When did you...
Most people, during the pandemic, you just kind of figured that where you were at the time wasn't really going anywhere, and why not do something yourself? So I jumped on the bandwagon. I think they call it generation resignation, which is terrible, but I'm definitely part of that. I feel like at times I have debated whether I should be in the position I'm in earlier. There's a huge, there's a feeling sometimes that you're too old for stuff, right? And a lot of people say, okay, you have the 30s under 30s and 40s under 40s and all these different sort of accolades. But I think that I'd say take your time, maybe. I'd say don't worry about time as much. What is meant to be will come as long as you work for it. And a lot of things are circumstantial, When I was starting out in the film world, I didn't have parents that could really support me, and I'd been offered internships for 3 months at a time. This is before the whole internship scandal happened, where people were using kids' time for months and months and not paying them anything. So if you come from a non-wealthy background, it's very difficult to say, okay, well, yeah, fuck it, I'll do 3 months unpaid work for you and work a night job as well so that I can pay for my bills. So I didn't have that opportunity, which meant that that internship could have skyrocketed my career earlier. But I've made it work, exactly. And I think that you shouldn't be pressured by time so much. You should be patient, and you should work hard, definitely. And sometimes you will have opportunities, and then definitely grab those by the horns. But if you don't have the opportunity, just keep working. If you really want it, you'll get it. Which is so cliche. I'm listening to myself. This is terrible. It's so cliche. But genuinely, hard work, good work ethic. I'd say, time is a huge thing. Don't be pressured by time.
What would you say to your 16-year-old self?
What? Sorry, what about my 16-year-old self?
What would you say to your 16-year-old self?
Party less. Study more. No, I was a pretty good 16-year-old. Also, I grew up in Cyprus where you couldn't really do much. You're stuck on a little island. Everyone knew you. So my 16-year-old self, maybe, be more interested. Have hobbies that take up more of your time rather than worrying so much about your A grades at school or, making it to a social event. I think we need to learn to balance things more. But I don't know if as a teenager you can, you're so caught up in your emotions that it's really difficult as a 16-year-old to see the bigger picture.
I suppose that a lot depends on your parents, on the parents and how you be raised.
Yeah.
And their support.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I feel like mine were a little bit too relaxed even. What about you? What would you say to your 16-year-old self?
Save more or get mentors. Get a mentor. Get mentors.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. I totally agree.
What is the impact or the gift, in your case, you want to share with the world?
Well, I mean, we're hoping that through the documentaries we're making, that is the social impact. So, for example, Life on the Edge, which is our feature doc set in Greenland, is quite topical because everyone's starting to realize that actually, mental health is just as important. Mm-hmm. And we're hoping that by the world seeing how Greenlanders deal with these situations, that they'll be able to open up about their experiences more. So for us, and for me at the moment, it's documentary is the medium to be able to make that kind of impact, because seeing real life stories and hopefully relating to those. So yeah, I'm just hoping that at least with this film, we have lots of others coming, but that that people can find the strength to be more open with each other, to be more emotional.
Fine.
So my company is called Anima Films. Don't yet have a website, which is terrible, but it's been thankfully a busy year. So they can find me on LinkedIn if they want to, and if anyone listening to this is looking for a mentor or wants a few words of advice, I'm super happy to speak to them.
What about work experience? You people on for work experience?
Yeah, we definitely all the time. So my name is Andrea Land. So if anyone wants to find me, they can.
Spell out.
Yeah, gotcha. So Anima Films is ANIMA Films FILMS.
Well, thanks a lot for that.
No,
and we
thank
wish
you.
well.
Been real.